Good morning, everyone. Beth Bennett here from Nestled Feathers. Thank you so much for joining me on this beautiful day. Today we're going to do our very first garden tour. And I wanted to start by sharing my very favorite view with you. Right out my bedroom window. It's so pretty down there. So I hope you have time to grab a drink and sit back and enjoy this tour of our spring garden 2022. Well, okay, everybody. I hope that you enjoyed that little look back. And yes, that's me talking at the video, but I'm doing this on a voiceover because the audio ended up being pretty bad. So I hope you don't mind watching me talk, and the words didn't really match or sync anyway. So we're just going to go with this and see how that works for everybody else. But yeah, so welcome to our home. This is my faithful sidekick here, and his name is Bear, and he is going to be 14 years old this year, and he has Lyme disease. So I haven't been concentrating too much on providing content, but as you can see, he has a rough time getting around, and yeah, so he's where my focus is these days. But it's such a beautiful day. I thought we'd both get outside and enjoy this weather a little bit, and I could give you a tour. So let's start at the beginning. Welcome to our home. This is our driveway, and that's our little grapevine down there with our house number on it. And recently we've had a few trees removed, including this big oak tree that just decided to up and die on us last year. So that and a little small dogwood right in front of it both came out earlier this spring. And so what you're looking at there is the remnants of the oak tree. And up at the end of the driveway, I decided to do a little something, but that's our home and that's our work. And this is our property. And yeah, we have a lot of ash borer damage in the area, and that's one of the trees you're looking at right now, and that is coming out next. Probably along with those wild roses, because they were volunteered there. That was not something I planned. But he looks like he's having a bit of a rough time, so I think I'm going to probably take him in a bit. But yeah, there's Nestled Feathers, where we have our reselling business. We sell on Etsy and eBay. Plus we have our own websites. You can find us at nestledfeathers.com or b2thebee.com. So let's start. Here we go, some old stuff. Yeah, this is our little bit of a front yard. And but first I want to show you what I did over here. This is my latest project, just pulling together a few things and making use of the nice stumps that were left behind after the tree removal. So yeah, I'm not really big on names or remembering names. In fact, doing a voiceover, I really don't have an excuse. I should have all that information right in front of me. But yeah, I like pretty. I see it in the store, I bring it home and put it in the ground or in a basket and enjoy it. This year I'm doing a lot of flowers. I got my food done so quickly that it was time to just kind of brighten up the place. And we collect water wherever we can, even though we don't have gutters on anything. That'll change soon. But yeah, just doing up some lovely planters, bringing a little color into the front yard. Who knows, we might actually have like a party or something someday. People can come and enjoy it besides us. But for now, I'm just kind of making use of an old stand that's been sitting out there and usually has items for sale on it. But because of the tree situation and just a lot of changes, we're looking to buy another building to put the business in so we can have our garage back. And so yes, just decorating instead of selling from it this year, which is fine. That is fine. Sales are still pretty good. Hey, Piggy. So over here we have an old bed. This has been established for many years. And I have some stone crop in there and a couple of irises, which I'm still not sure how they got there. I love, decorating my garden, and little things like this have been around for years. My little Cheshire cat sitting in this chair. They didn't come together like that. I just kind of put things together. These dogs were a gift from my daughter-in-law, Brooke, many years ago. And up here, you'll see a new gift from my daughter-in-law, Wendy. And I absolutely love it. It's so pretty. Not that I get out there at night to see it much when it's lit up, but it does sound wonderful. And so, yeah, I'm always kind of brushing by it just so I can hear it. And yes, that's my messy front porch, and we're not even going to go there. We're going to kind of stick to the pretty stuff. This is another new one I should know the name of. I just kind of saw it at the nursery the last shopping trip last weekend and brought that right home. Just love the blooms on that. It's so pretty. It's obviously some kind of a sedum or succulent. But, I keep the tags and I refer to them because obviously I can't remember the name of anything. Oh yes, a pile of work still left to do. And so let's take a look at the rest of the front yard. What little bit of it we have. There's a lot of yard there, but just not a lot that we've manicured. Strawberries, yeah, strawberries everywhere this year. I bought a few strawberries last year and have tried to double my strawberry acquisitions. A new little fountain that should have very blue water in it right now, but the dye has kind of faded. I used blue dye in there in order to keep the algae down. And I used to have a water feature. I've always had a water feature in front. It used to be in that copper tub that now is housing more strawberries. And ooh, look at this. You're ready to bloom. And I don't even know exactly what you are. I thought you were a lily, but I don't know now. And over here on this side of the front yard, this other side of the fence, I have some Linaria, which is also new this year. Never grown this before. And it's right next to some Hudson Valley Rembrandt snapdragons that I actually tried to grow last year, but never got an early enough start, so they didn't bloom. So this year they're blooming, and I'm so excited about that. And a couple of roses, which I basically just took out of there last year before we put the big raised bed in, and kind of miss them. And they do good right there, so. And we need stuff to bring in the bees, so there you go. 2 new roses as well. And another collection unit in the back for water. Some new LED lights. And a couple of old trellises. So yes, as we swing around here, we'll get in a better view of these guys. I got 2 varieties. One's supposed to be purple and one's supposed to be kind of like a sunset yellow-orange. I'm guessing this one's going to be the sunset, and the slower one in back over there is going to be the purple one. That's more like a tea rose. The other one is more like a floribunda. It's bushy, so. And there is our bed. Look at how big it's gotten. It's so exciting. I cannot believe what you saw in that little montage at the beginning of this video was shot on May 21st. So yeah, and this is June 16th now. This was shot on the 15th. But yeah, peppers are getting big, flowering, and needing support. Have a few peppers at the end of this bed and some basil, because I just love basil everywhere. It smells so good. And after 2 really heavy prunings, I can actually see in there now to see that I have some tomatoes growing. And also where a few onions are still struggling to do the same. Yes, even after 2 heavy prunings, this bed is still dark. This is the IBC tank we purchased last year, and that's where all that collected water is being stored. And it is next to our water garden, which has been there for many years, which is also a few more planters that I put together just last week. I got them at Big Lots. They were relatively inexpensive, and I kind of like the style, but they're really meant to go like on a railing. So yeah, these ones are not going to go on a railing, at least not this year. But I wanted to fill them with some flowers anyway. I see a few buds. A few drop blooms need to come out. Yeah, this bed, I even got drip run to it. I'm so excited about that. But as you can see, it has gotten huge since that little montage that we showed in the beginning there, which was shot on May 21st. And this is overage, a couple of peppers that got crowded out of another bed. So they got put into some grow bags. Oh, and this is the strawberry tower planter that I put together for Cliff for Father's Day last year. So a year later, because we are coming up on Father's Day this weekend, a year later, still pumping out some strawberries. Looking good. So we've done a few experimental things this year. One of them was how we planted these tomatoes, which are really starting to take off. But yes, they were done in a bunch of McDonald's cups. You might have saw that in the beginning too. The McDonald's cups swinging from the greenhouse. That's where all these tomatoes got their start. And when they came out to this garden, they were about 4 feet tall. So we dug holes really deep as possible, because it is a hugelkultur bed, and we got them plugged in. So this is another experiment that was born of the greenhouse. We had 3 tomato plants that you might remember seeing this view again. in the beginning of this video, that little montage where it was all empty and just being put together. So we drug 3 very tall tomato plants that were in grow bags all winter long in the greenhouse, and they produce fairly well. But my idea was, hey, they're tomatoes. Let's just go lay them down along the fence and cover them with dirt. We kind of added some cattle panel and some plastic underneath to contain everything, and just laid them down and covered them up. Threw a few zinnias in there to try to keep the little pesky chipmunks that we have in our yard away from them, because obviously we're used to kind of getting things up and out of their way so they're not eaten immediately. But yes, so my idea was to bring these 3 tomato plants out here, and we kind of butted them up to each other from the grow bags. Butted the ends up. There's a 3rd one down there. The grow bags stayed on for a couple of weeks until they got established, and then I think it was not this past weekend, but the weekend before that we got them out of their grow bags and put the dirt on top. And yes, there's a pruning accident that's also been shoved into the heavy root ball layer of this, what we now call Tomato Alley, our little tomato alley, born of 3 very tall, overwintered tomato plants. And as you can see, they're doing fine, and they're still growing. Got a few even ripened that we've pulled in already from further down the line. This one's about ready to come in. I think that one is a New Yorker tomato. Also Hudson Valley Seed Company. And I see I got one over here that's trying to creep to the other side, so I'm gonna just very gently pull you back through and get you wrapped around the string. Remember, the string is your friend. That's my tomato mantra. This fence has proved to be invaluable already. Great idea, honey. So here's another experiment. We also had started some tomato plants inside the greenhouse back in February or March. These were born of the Aero Garden. I probably started them inside in the Aero Garden in February and then moved them out to the greenhouse in March. And then, because we're just trying to clear some space, they got so huge and were really crowding us out of the greenhouse, we brought them outside. And as you can see, it's just the cracking method that we're using here. So it's just aerated water in a bucket. And look at that root system. Wow. So yeah, these are just Aero Garden cherry tomatoes that we have growing out here. That one is I think a 3-gallon bucket. The other 2 are 5-gallon. So moving right along, as you can see, I have plenty more work to do. This is remnants of what I've brought home last weekend that still have not got planted, along with some mint. Just all this actually sat on those 2 picnic benches inside the greenhouse over the winter. This is my lovely water garden area that was built many, many years ago when we put the 2nd story on the house, actually. And we filled it up with some things. Back in the day, this is what I've always called Archangel. If you know it by a different name, please let me know. Which turns out to be pretty invasive in some states, but we love how it's filled in, this water garden. It's really done just a fantastic job. I actually have a couple of varieties. We've had various things in the top section over the years. Roses, rhododendrons. None of them did too well after we put the 2nd story in the house. Kind of got shady. This is really nice and sunny in the morning, but usually by 2 o'clock in the afternoon it starts to get a little shade. But yeah, I love my water garden. I love the sound of the water. Oh, and there's one of those pesky little chipmunks I mentioned. They love the water garden too. They think it's theirs. And unfortunately, we have lost a few to drownings over the years. But yeah. So we got some hosta growing in here now in the upper section. And actually over to the right here, we have some irises that didn't do much. Last year they bloomed early and hung clear over the bottom section. This year, nothing. So, so it goes. But in either case, I even have, as you can see down through the water, I have a bucket in there with some aquatic plants started that I kind of got from the pet store, because I also started aquariums up over the winter. We used to do aquariums and fish, and now I have 3 more. But yeah, as I mentioned, I have a couple of different varieties. I've always called it Archangel. That's what I remember it being from like 20 years ago when I planted it in there. But one is a pink bloom and more of a solid leaf, and then there's this variegated leaf here, which actually puts out a very pretty yellow flower. And like I said, I had no idea that they're actually banned in some areas because they're so invasive. We love them. They fit the bill here. And there's Lion, my Lion. He needs a paint job this year. But don't you just love all the lichen on the rocks? And oh yes, the rocks. Those pavers that I'm pointing to used to be over here in between the greenhouse and where the water garden is. But the concrete pad they're sitting on now is cracked, so that looks better. And all these we've put in ourselves over the years, one by one. More collection units, more water. And this is the second bed we put up after the big raised bed and then the greenhouse. Well, actually, I think this came after the greenhouse. So yeah, the greenhouse and then this, where we still lucky enough to have some spinach growing, but we have carrots and zucchini, which is looking phenomenal this year, and I'm not going to touch it. I pruned my zucchini out of existence last year, so I'm not going to do that again. And a few leftover potatoes. That whole empty area there was potatoes, and I tried to get them out and moved over into a grow bag so I would have more room for these guys, because I knew they were going to take off. But I think there's also a couple of silver slicer cucumbers in this bed. I did have one other one planted that didn't make it. One of the homemade pickling ones was right there, and that unfortunately didn't make it. But these guys are still struggling a little bit, but they're starting to take off. Starting to. And this is a pumpkin, I believe, over here in, not that, this. That is a pumpkin. I do believe that's a pumpkin. That's not zucchini. So I have zucchini, pumpkin, and cucumbers pretty much in all of the other beds this year, trying to find out where they're going to do best, who's going to get along with who's going to grow faster. Garlic in the back. And this is what we call our little hoop bed, because yeah, we kind of use it as an extender, cold frame starter. And yes, this is where eventually we'll have a pool. Right now we've got a few more sections of fence and some trees that have got to come down first. So the trees are coming down this weekend, and then we'll continue on with the fence. As you can see, the little white section of fencing there, that's where I moved the potatoes, that little part right there. And yeah, just a little 360 of the view so far. Hosta and a little lone apple tree growing in back of this bed. This is actually our well over here. And up and back is some new stuff. Yeah, over the years, we've been here for almost 40 years, and over the years, these trees have just totally boxed us in. They have shaded our yard more and more every year to where we can't even hardly grow grass, and now we're trying to grow food. So more trees might come down, but not this one. That is the oak tree, and that is like the pride of our yard. Always has been and always probably will be as long as we're here. So yeah, I'm really into the raised beds and even trying to color coordinate. So I got this one next, the stark green one, and it has zucchini and I think another pumpkin. Looks like another pumpkin or maybe another cucumber. That's another cucumber, I believe, in there. It's hard to tell. And as you could see from the montage in the beginning when I pulled up that blank tag, that's why I really need a good garden marker. So over here, more tomatoes. Yay! These are some Romas. I have about 6 Roma squows in there. And these are Hudson Valley Seed Company fox cherry tomatoes. So I have 6 fox cherry tomatoes in here as well. Yes, can I overcrowd a bed? You bet. And that's the one that the peppers had to get popped out of. And over here to the right, you see a very sad attempt at growing corn. It was really kind of half-baked, so we're not going to look at that too much. Let's look at some little tomatoes. Aren't they looking lovely? So yeah, tomatoes. I better get the canning gear out. Looks like I'm going to be canning tomatoes early this year, and that was the whole goal of my 22 food garden plan was more tomatoes, more potatoes, more carrots, all the things that we eat a lot of, not so many of the cucumbers. Last year we did great with the cucumbers. Totally failed on the zucchini. And, did okay on the tomatoes. So then I had to add a second bed in a lovely light green color. And get, so there's one, volunteer sunflower in there. I feed a lot of birds and they pay me back. More potatoes, and they're kind of crowding out the pumpkins, and I'm trying to get more pumpkins in the middle. And I, so far, have done okay with the pumpkins. They're hanging in there, but I really only have just one watermelon over in the other bed, which we're going to take a look at just a sec. But yeah, potatoes are doing good. I don't know if you know, can I cut them back? Because I think that I'm going to have to put some fencing up in there. And so yes, swinging over to this bed. This bed also went in right after the raised bed last year. I don't know which came first, the greenhouse or that. Probably that. I'm thinking that. And the fire pit also had to get moved to put the greenhouse up, so that's where that landed, was up here. Close to be useful, but hopefully not too close. So yeah, right now you're looking at my one and only watermelon. This bed is just taken off like crazy. Still a little shy on the dirt. We keep adding to it, but as you can see, there's more what I believe are cucumbers. I'm guessing they're cucumbers. And I mean, I just watered this bed the day before us shooting this, and they were still all contained inside, and now they're spilling out over the edge. So that's good. I do have a zucchini back there somewhere. And yeah, we've had, it is kind of gypsy moth season here, so we've gotten quite a bit of damage from them. But hard to complain when they're also providing us with lots of fertilization in the form of green and brown. So No mulch pit needed there. They're directly depositing. I could actually hear it as I was laying out in the sun the other day. It was like light rain falling. So many gypsy moths. So yes, this is my one and only Siberian sweet watermelon, sweet Siberian. I'll have to look up the name. I'm sorry, but if you go to my shop, you'll see it because it's also a Hudson Valley Seed Company seed that we have for sale. But yeah, I'm just kind of searching around. I do had one little flower, and it made one little baby, but I really haven't seen a lot of change in it yet. In fact, right now I'm kind of having a hard time locating it. Oh, there it is. There it is. And I haven't really seen much change since when I first noticed it, so we'll see if it actually got fertilized or not. But yeah, so, and in behind there, well, looking at my weeding that I need to do, there's lots of that. There's always lots of that. But yeah, over and back here, I do have also just one purple peacock broccoli, also from Hudson Valley Seed Company, along with some sweet peas in the back. As you can see, the broccoli's already gone to seed. I was really hoping that this little grouping of volunteered sunflowers was put there for a reason, and it was going to shade everybody out so it would prevent things from going to seed too soon. But my peas are hanging in there, which usually, at least last year, I say usually, but like last year, we've only been growing food for 1 year. Last year, they just got them out there too late, too hot, too warm. Showing you some more strawberries that I'm trying direct in the ground in the back. But yes, the peas are looking much better this year. Last year, like I said, I just got them out too late, and they just kind of gave me a few little nibbles and enough to realize how badly I want more. And then they were gone for the season. But yeah, so we're trying out new supports and just all kinds of new things this year. There's a very old boxwood that I've gotten in the habit of trimming, and yes, that kind of brings us right back to where we started this tour, looking out that window right there. And yeah, so thank you so much. Lots of work that has to be done up there. I'm pointing out all the stairs that need to be replaced and things like that. So yes, always lots of work to do around the Bennett homestead. Thank you so much for joining me on this tour. It sure has been a warm one, and no complaints here. I love it that way. So, but I do hope this finds you all in good health and spirits and enjoying your own gardening adventures this time of year. I know I've got a few other projects in mind that I'd like to share with you, so I hope you'll tune in for that. And also, don't forget to do that, like, subscribe thing if you're so inclined. I'm happy to have you. You're always welcome here at Nestled Feathers. And so this is where I sign off and say, I love you all, take care, and we will see you in the next video. All right. Love you guys. Bye-bye.